Hello there. My name is Lynn Donovan, and I am the theologian in residence at St. Andrews in Picton. Welcome to this Lenten season that is entitled, You Are Stardust. I'd like to begin by reading from an introduction to a book that was entitled Prayers for a Planetary Pilgrim, first written in 1989 and then upgraded in 2008 by Catholic priest Edward Hayes. And in the preface of the newest edition, he writes the following. Christianity is an indoor religion. The windows of our church are stained, and while beautiful, they prevent worshipers from seeing and praying in communion with the creation. Christians pray indoor prayers every day that rarely refer to our cousins in creation and in the swirling star colonies of the cosmos. This creation-blind spirituality sprung from Christianity's beginnings that first took root and then flourished in cities. Like its parent religion, Judaism, it was continuously engaged in a pitched battle with the pagan gods and goddesses of nature. Christianity carried with it a fear of creation and hostility toward the most powerful spirit forces of nature as it slowly spread beyond urban areas. This aversion to the powerful influences of creation is concealed in the word pagan, from the Latin paganus, for country person. The peasants whose lives depended upon good crops clung tightly to their beliefs in the powerful spirit forces of vegetation, the earth and sun, and were the last to surrender to the new religion. The great Jewish theologian Abraham Heschel said the root of all religion is what we do with awe, wonder, and amazement. He is correct, since without a prayer of wonder, we can easily attempt to manipulate God by tricks of pious praying, fasting, lighting candles, and reciting repetitive prayers. To incorporate the vista of the Milky Way galaxy with its billions of stars into your prayers is to pray with wonder. To contemplate such an immeasurable distance between our planet Earth and our next door galaxy is to pray the prayer of awe, and so be plunged into the mysterious. I invite you to join the community that is rethinking all of these things. And at this time, I'm going to invite you to stop this video and go and listen to Peter Mayer's Blue Boat Home as an opportunity to bring yourself into sacred practice, meditation, and incorporating your own longing for an encounter with mystery. Our opening prayer is kind of a coming together of both prayer and a rewriting of our creation story to reflect the history that our physicists and scientists have shared with us. It is entitled The Star Within and is written by Paula Lehman and Sarah Griffith. In the beginning, the energy of silence rested over an infinite horizon of pure nothingness. The silence lasted for billions of years, stretching across eons that the human mind cannot even remotely comprehend. Out of the silence arose the first ripples of sound, vibrations of pure energy that ruptured the tranquil stillness as a single point of raw potential, bearing all matter, all dimensions, all energy, and all time, exploding like a massive fireball. It was the greatest explosion ever. An eruption of infinite energy danced into being. It had a wild and joyful freedom about it. And like a dance, it was richly endowed with coherence, elegance, and creativity. The universe continued to expand and cool until the first atoms came into being. The force of gravity joined the cosmic dance. Atoms clustered into primordial galaxies. Giant clouds of hydrogen and helium gases gathered into condensed masses, giving birth to stars. Generations of stars were born and died, and then our own star system, the solar system, was formed from a huge cloud of interstellar dust, enriched by the gifts of all those ancestral stars. Planet Earth condensed out of a cloud that was rich in a diversity of elements. Each atom of carbon, oxygen, silicon, calcium, and sodium had been given during the explosive death of ancient stars. These elements, this stuff of stars, included all the chemical elements necessary for the evolution of carbon-based life. With the appearance of the first bacteria, the cosmic dance reached a more complex level of integration. Molecules clustered together to form living cells. Later came the algae, and then fish began to inhabit the waters. Thence, the journey of life on land and in sky. Insects, amphibians, birds, reptiles, and mammals all flourished and diversified and elaborated the themes of life. And now it is our time too. This is our story, the story of our beginning, our cosmology. And so we commence our Lenten journey with open hearts in the midst of our Creator. Let us love deeply the earth, which gives us air to breathe, water to drink, and food to sustain us. May we remember throughout this season and every season that life is begotten from stardust, radiant in light and heat. We are all one, all of creation, all that now live, all that have ever lived. Remember, we are stardust, and to stardust we return. Remember, we are part of the great mystery. Remember, we are stardust, and to stardust we return. It is my privilege right now to introduce to you Dr. Ramesh Puran, who has a PhD in quantum mechanics and has been fascinated with the night skies since the age of 9. He has agreed to break his vast repertoire of thinking and his vast repertoire of photographs into 5 pieces so that we can have him for a season of 5 weeks, because the night skies have played a role in civilization that most of us who are products of the last century or this one have long forgotten. And so I'm going to hand it over to Ramesh now, and following his presentation, he will speak to several of his night sky images. Push.
Hello, everyone. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here. I thank Lynn for this opportunity to speak to you. We are in a season of growing light. The shortening of the days before the winter solstice is now changed into the shortening of the long nights as the sun begins its northward drift on the dawn horizon. Each morning and each evening, there are a few more minutes of precious light. Out of the darkness comes the light. The lengthening day is being felt by the topmost tree branches, where specialized cells respond to light and send a chemical signal down to the roots that a time of renewal is at hand. Deep below the earth, energy is building, much like the coiling of a spring, waiting for a time to burst forth. And it all has to do with light. Let there be light. There is such power in those words. Light gives life, And for those who heed the inner call to serve, life gives light. On a purely physical level, our light and energy derives from the sun. The air we breathe, the food we eat, this temperate planet we live on, all made possible by the sun. The cycle of the seasons, the annual rhythm of the earth, is driven by sunlight. Our ancient ancestors lived according to those rhythms, whether growing crops or hunting or seasonal migration. They depended on knowing the seasons and, more importantly, anticipating the changes. On days that look much the same as another, how did our ancestors know what changes were coming up? The answer, I believe, lies in the night sky. There probably isn't anyone who at one time has not been fascinated by the stars in the night sky. Whether it's a lazy summer night with the glow of fireflies mimicking the stars above, a cold, crisp winter's night with the stars twinkling merry and bright, or perhaps before the dawn as you watch the sky brighten to blue and the stars slowly fade. We humans seem to have a natural affinity for the night sky. Is this a holdover from long ago ancestors who migrated seasonally following the stars? Or is this a genetic memory of stories and wisdom transferred around the glow of a cooking fire somewhere in the savannas of Africa following a day of hunting and gathering? This morning, I will begin one of a series of talks about the stars and our relation to them. Some of it will be stories from different cultures. Some of it will be my musing on why it fascinates me. We'll start with a little exercise to see our place in the universe. We are in this church in a small Ontario town, safely cocooned and sheltered. But we are also on a planet that rotates once each day. At the equator, it's spinning at a rate of 1,000 miles per hour. Here at latitude 44 north, it's slower. We're zipping along at about 700 miles per hour, but no one here is feeling dizzy. The Earth and Moon orbit as a pair, so there's also a little sideways tug. And we orbit the sun, typically motoring along at 30 kilometers per second, a little faster in winter, a little slower in summer. The sun itself is traveling at about 7 kilometers per second, and we're along for the ride. This part of the Milky Way galaxy we are in is rotating at a speed of 230 kilometers per second. The galaxy itself is speeding towards Andromeda. And yet, here we are, safe and sheltered, oblivious to all that motion. We are continually bombarded by subatomic particles, and every now and again, a passing gravitational wave gives us an imperceptible massage as space itself is squeezed. We live in a dynamic and ever-changing universe, but the timescale is so enormous and the distance is so vast that we have the illusion of constancy. The stars we see tonight will be pretty much in the same place 10 generations hence. There is, of course, the seasonal change of the starry night. We have springtime stars and wintertime stars. Very few people these days have watched the stars wheel across the heavens over an entire night. But long ago, those shepherds who kept watch over their flock at night, they would have done so, and they would have gained an intimate knowledge of the sky. At this time of year, for instance, the stars of autumn would be setting in the west, the winter stars would hold center stage, and in the hours before dawn, the spring stars would be rising in the east. And this is how the seasons could be measured and anticipated. I'll speak more about that next week. But first, what exactly are those lights in the night sky we call stars? And perhaps we should give the moon a passing mention, because it too is another light in the darkness. The moon is Earth's natural satellite, and its phases from new moon to full moon and back again is another way to mark the passage of time. Beyond that, though, the moon is partly responsible for the length of our day, long-term stability of the seasons. Without the moon's presence, life on Earth might not have had the chance to flourish. Understanding this makes the beauty of a crescent moon hanging in an indigo evening sky all the more special. Back to the stars. Those points of light coming out of a dark sky are suns in their own right, many of them that we see far more brilliant and much larger than our own sun. They are the factories of the universe, creating elements that are part of all things. The air we breathe, the clothes we wear, our bodies themselves, all come from many previous generations of stars. Massive stars are born and live short but prodigious lives and explode as supernovae, distributing all the elements necessary for life through the cosmos. Out of the darkness comes the light, and from the light comes life. We are lucky, perhaps miraculously so, to live in the company of a very well-managed star. By day, it gives us light, and by night, it allows us to see the grander universe and to wonder at our place in it.
Thank you, Ramesh. Now I'm going to share my screen so that everyone can enjoy your images. There you go. Ramesh has agreed to speak to 7 different images that he took of the night skies.
Okay, this is the Andromeda Galaxy. It's a version of our Milky Way that we see from a distance of 2 million light years away. It's about the same size as our Milky Way, and we are actually heading towards a collision with this galaxy in several billion years. So watch out, it's going to get closer. This is the region in the constellation of Scorpius. What you're seeing here is gas and dust that fills interstellar space, and from which everything on Earth here has been created. This is where the elements are formed that will create future solar systems. This is a view of the Milky Way. If you were to lie down on a summer night and look straight up and collect all of the light you can, this is what you would see. The Milky Way stretching across the sky. This is a nebula called the Cone Nebula. Nebula actually means little cloud, and long before good telescopes were available, astronomers could see these as merely patches of light in a dark sky. So they gave them the rather fanciful name of cloud. The 3 stars that you see stretching across the frame here are the belt stars of Orion. And off to the left, you'll see a little notch of darkness in the shape of a horsehead. And that gives this nebula its name, the Horsehead Nebula. And this is the Rosette Nebula, named because it resembles a rose. The red light comes from hydrogen atoms that are excited by the ultraviolet radiation from the stars that are formed in the center. And this one, again, called the Heart and Soul Nebula. Again, hydrogen is responsible for the red color. And there is a lot of hydrogen in the universe. And so we often get to see quite a lot of red when we take long exposure photographs.
Thank you, Ramesh.
Oh, you're welcome, Lynn. Thank you.
Next week, the theme of Ramesh's contribution will be how those who went before us used the night skies to inform them about what time it was, not just on a daily basis, but on a seasonal basis, and particularly those whose lives revolved around agriculture. Looked to the night skies for the timing around those most important events of planting and harvesting. And now I share with you this cosmic blessing by John Philip Newell. May the deep blessings of earth be with us. May the fathomless soundings of seas surge in our soul. May boundless stretches of the universe echo in our depths to open us to wonder, to strengthen us for love. to humble us with gratitude, that we may find ourselves in one another, that we may lose ourselves in gladness, that we may give ourselves to peace. Amen.